Emma Carter had just turned 22 when she inherited her late father's company. Overnight, she became the youngest CEO in the city. Everyone admired her beauty and intelligence, but behind closed doors, Emma felt the crushing weight of expectations. Her board doubted her, her rivals mocked her, and her so-called friends only wanted her for parties. She smiled in public, but deep down loneliness consumed her. The massive glass office felt more like a prison than an achievement. She wanted someone who saw her not as a CEO, but simply as Emma. The company assigned Emma a personal driver, Ethan Walker, a 25-year-old man who seemed too mature for his age. He had a calm, protective energy and always kept a respectful distance. Emma, used to people flattering her, found his silence strange at first. He rarely spoke unless necessary, and when he did, his voice was steady, almost comforting. Unbeknownst to Emma, Ethan carried his own burdens, a single father raising his 3-year-old daughter alone. Their worlds couldn't have been more different, yet destiny had placed them in the same car, heading toward a story neither of them expected. Sophia and Claire, Emma's closest party-loving friends, called her late at night. They begged her to join them at an exclusive downtown dance party. Emma hesitated. Her board meeting was exhausting and she wanted peace. But loneliness whispered louder. Just one night, she told herself. When she mentioned it to Ethan, his brows furrowed. He disliked such reckless gatherings, but it was his duty to drive her. Dressed elegantly, Emma entered the car, her perfume filling the air. Ethan stole a glance at her through the rearview mirror, silently wishing he could protect her from more than just traffic. The club pulsed with flashing lights and deafening music. Emma stepped in, dazzling in her dress, instantly attracting attention. Sophia and Claire dragged her to the dance floor while Ethan waited near the entrance, tense. He hated the atmosphere, too many strangers with wandering eyes. Emma laughed, raised her glass and drank more than she ever should. For a moment, she forgot her responsibilities. As a CEO, she was just a 22-year-old girl having fun. But as the night deepened, her laughter began to fade into clumsy movements. Ethan knew this night was heading toward disaster. Emma staggered, spilling her drink as her heels slipped. Her friends cheered, unaware of her limits. A group of men noticed her condition, circling with sly grins. Emma's eyes fluttered, her body giving up to the alcohol. She collapsed into one of the men's arms, too weak to protest. In that instant, Ethan rushed forward, his tall frame cutting through the crowd. His eyes were cold, his jaw set. "She's with me," he growled, pulling her away. The men sneered but stepped back. Carrying her in his arms, Ethan realized he wasn't just her driver tonight, he was her protector. The city lights blurred through the windshield as Ethan drove one-handed, Emma's fragile form resting against the seat. Her head leaned on the window, her lipstick smudged, her breathing uneven. Ethan glanced at her, torn between frustration and concern. She murmured her father's name once, then whispered, "Where are you, Richard?" Before slipping back into silence, Ethan carefully carried her inside her penthouse, laying her on the bed like porcelain. He placed a glass of water nearby and covered her with a blanket. Standing in the quiet room, he realized this job was becoming something more than duty. The next morning, Emma awoke with a pounding headache. Flashes of the party haunted her, but what struck her most was waking up safe in her bed. She remembered Ethan's stern eyes, the way he had carried her. Embarrassment burned her cheeks. She avoided eye contact when he greeted her politely. Yet something had shifted. For the first time, she looked at him not as an employee, but as a man who had shielded her. Ethan, on the other hand, pretended nothing had changed, though deep inside, he wondered why protecting her had felt so personal. One afternoon, Emma accidentally discovered Ethan's secret, his daughter, Lily, a bubbly 3-year-old with golden curls and innocent laughter. Emma had never seen Ethan smile the way he did around his child. His tough exterior softened instantly. Watching them together made Emma's heart ache. For all her wealth, she had no family warmth like that. Lily innocently asked Emma if she wanted to play, and for a moment, Emma forgot she was a CEO. She sat on the floor, building blocks with Lily, while Ethan stood quietly. Realizing Emma wasn't the cold, untouchable boss everyone thought she was, the more Emma learned about Ethan, the more she realized how different their worlds were. She lived in skyscrapers and boardrooms, while Ethan lived in a modest apartment. Juggling work and fatherhood, Emma admired his strength but also envied his simple joys. One evening, she watched him help Lily with her bedtime story. His voice soft, his patience endless. She wondered what it would feel like to have someone like that in her life. But reality struck. She was the CEO, he was her driver. Crossing that line would be dangerous, maybe even impossible. Still, her heart whispered otherwise. Rumors began to spread in the company. The young CEO and her driver, employees whispered with knowing smirks. Emma ignored them, but gossip traveled fast. Board members began to question her professionalism. In the car, Emma finally snapped, "Do people think I'm that desperate?" Ethan stayed calm. "People talk, Miss Carter. What matters is what you know is true." His words lingered. It wasn't about desperation. It was about needing someone real. That night, Emma sat in her office staring at her reflection. Was she falling for him? Or was loneliness tricking her into dangerous feelings? Richard Hale, Emma's father's old rival, had been watching closely. The whispers about Emma and her driver were fuel for his schemes. At a gala, he mocked her openly, hinting about her inappropriate relationship. Emma's cheeks burned as cameras flashed, capturing every reaction. Ethan clenched his fists in the shadows, ready to defend her, but Emma forced a smile, masking her humiliation. Later in the car, silence hung heavy. Emma's eyes glistened, but she refused to cry. Ethan finally said, "Don't let men like him define your worth." For the first time, Emma almost believed it. One stormy night, after an exhausting day, Emma asked Ethan to drive aimlessly. She sat in the back seat, staring at the rain-soaked windows. Finally, she whispered, "Do you know what it's like to have everything but still feel completely alone?" Ethan's hands tightened on the wheel. "Yes," he replied softly. He told her about losing his wife, about raising Lily with nothing but determination. Their eyes met in the rearview mirror, two souls carrying invisible scars. In that silent confession, Emma realized she trusted him more than anyone. That night, the distance between CEO and driver began to fade. Richard's rumors spread like wildfire, hitting tabloids and business blogs. The CEO and her driver became scandalous headlines. Emma felt her father's legacy slipping through her hands. At the office, board members demanded explanations. She stood silent, overwhelmed. But Ethan, who usually kept quiet, stepped forward. "I was hired to protect her, and I did. She deserves respect, not ridicule." His words silenced the room. Emma looked at him with teary eyes. No one had ever defended her like that. At that moment, she realized Ethan wasn't just protecting her reputation, he was protecting her heart. Emma visited Ethan's home one weekend, intending only to check on him after the chaos. Lily ran up to her, hugging her legs. "Will you be my mommy?" she asked innocently. The room froze. Ethan's face turned pale, embarrassed. Emma knelt, stroking Lily's hair, her throat tight with emotions. I'll always be your friend," she whispered. Yet those words felt incomplete. Driving home later, Emma couldn't shake Lily's voice from her mind. For the first time, she imagined a life not of boardrooms and power, but of family dinners, bedtime stories, and laughter she never knew she needed. Late one night after a corporate event, Emma asked Ethan to drive her around the quiet streets. They stopped by the river, city lights reflecting in the water. Emma confessed, "When you're around, I feel safe. Not as a CEO, but as me." Ethan looked at her, conflicted. Their faces drew closer, breath mingling, hearts racing. But just before their lips touched, Ethan pulled back. "This isn't right," he muttered, turning away. Emma's chest ached. He wasn't rejecting her, he was protecting her. That restraint, more than any kiss, made her realize how deeply he cared. At a high-profile gala, Richard struck again. He exposed paparazzi photos of Emma leaving Ethan's home, twisting the story into scandal. Guests whispered, cameras flashed, and investors frowned. Emma's face burned with shame. But Ethan stepped onto the stage, voice steady. "If protecting her makes me guilty, then I'm guilty. She is more than a headline. She is a leader." The room fell silent. For once, the young CEO wasn't alone. Emma's chest swelled, with pride and fear, because standing by him meant risking everything she had worked for. Still, Ethan's courage lit a fire in her soul. Days later, Emma couldn't fight her heart anymore. Sitting in the car, she finally whispered, "I think I've fallen for you." Ethan, silent, stretched, broken only by the hum of the engine. Ethan gripped the wheel tightly, then admitted, "I felt the same, but I'm just a driver, a single dad. You deserve more." Emma leaned forward, her voice trembling. "What I deserve is someone real." Their eyes locked. For the first time, titles, money, and judgment disappeared. They were just two broken souls, realizing that love doesn't follow society's rules, it follows the heart. The board confronted Emma. "Choose your company or your driver," they demanded. Investors threatened to pull out if she continued her relationship. Emma's heart pounded. She had spent her life proving she could lead. But was power worth the price of her happiness? That night she sat in her penthouse, staring at the city skyline. Ethan called, offering to step away for her sake. Tears rolled down her cheeks. For the first time, Emma saw clearly. She didn't want a legacy built on loneliness. She wanted love, family, and the warmth Ethan gave her. Her decision was made. Emma walked into the boardroom, her head high. "I am not just a CEO," she declared. "I am a human being. I refuse to sacrifice love for power." Gasps filled the room. Some board members resigned in anger, but others admired her courage. Outside, reporters swarmed. Emma didn't hide. She held Ethan's hand in front of the flashing cameras, silencing the rumors with truth. It was risky, bold, and scandalous, but liberating. For once, Emma wasn't the lonely heiress in a glass tower. She was a woman choosing her own story, and Ethan was part of it. Weeks later, life settled. Emma's company survived, stronger than before. Richard's schemes collapsed, exposed for lies. Emma often looked back at that wild dance party, the night she fainted, the night Ethan carried her away. That single moment had changed everything. Now she sat in Ethan's modest home, Lily curled in her lap, laughter filling the room. Ethan glanced at her, eyes full of quiet love. She wasn't just the youngest CEO anymore. She was Emma, loved, cherished, and no longer alone. The city outside sparkled, but inside she had found her true light.